Hi, friends. Welcome to the Like-Minded Radicals, the podcast designed for individuals like you who believe there's a better way to work and live. Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Like-Minded Radicals. Today, I'm thrilled to have Kelly Stone with us, Chief Conversation Maker at Craft My Content and a master of turning dull, jargon-filled emails into truly something that connects. Kelly's passion for light conversational communication started during her time as a graduate recruiter, where she made it her mission to write with flair and keep things engaging, even when delivering tough messages. Now she helps businesses, big and small, and individuals transform their employer or personal brand candidate communications, whether it's through energizing website content, blog posts, or the magic of a well-written email. We've also caught her during an exciting week as she launches a course from bland to brand online. Kelly knows firsthand the power of authentic, emotive communication, and she and I have shared quite a lot of that. She's here to share with all of you how it can shape your brand, build loyalty, and create a lasting connection with your audience, something we all need more of. So grab a coffee, settle in as we dive into the world of words with Kelly Stone. Thanks, Kelly.
Hi, thank you. I have to say that is like the best intro. I'm like, oh wow, you did your research. You did good.
Well, it was fun, and I had such a great time meeting you in person. We caught up recently over a coffee. I want to say it lasted nearly 3 hours, or it potentially could have. And I am really enjoying following your content on LinkedIn because it is so refreshing and just unique and authentic. And you and I talked over coffee about kind of the power of words and professional language. So we'll get into that because I really want to go over your theory on how we ended up here.
Yeah.
But let's start with a little bit about you. How did you end up here?
Yeah. I'm one of those people that didn't have a linear kind of career path. So it's quite good being in grad recruitment because it was a message that I like to share with graduates as well, as, you know, just kind of be open and flexible to the opportunities. But I actually studied journalism and communication at university, and it was during the communication cert, it was a grad cert, that I fell into recruitment, as we all do, recruiters. And from there kind of made my way into graduate recruitment. And while it was graduate recruitment, it's quite cyclic. It's you know, it's the same thing over and over every year. It's can be kind of project management.
Right.
I just found, I don't know, I think it was like the creative writer in me, or is that having that communication background? It was kind of innate in me that it just became a bit of, I don't want to say an obsession, but like a particular interest. And I kind of focused a lot of energy into the way that I communicated with our graduates, the way that we would write job ads and things like that, just so that it wasn't just that humdrum kind of really dull. And this is back in around 2013, 2012 to 2016 maybe. So Facebook was still kind of emerging there, especially like businesses were doubling in Facebook. We didn't even have a policy for Instagram, so I am aging myself. But so yeah, it was kind of organizations, and especially like, so I call grad recruitment like the OG employer branders, because it's always been a really cutthroat industry, shall we say. So yeah, I just kind of made it my mission to write in a way that was really human and chatty and conversational, and there was more personality, I guess, because it was coming from me as opposed to being that real third party kind of, you know, corporate. We are the corporation and we're looking to hire graduates. So it's a very long-winded way of explaining. But yeah, it was something that I enjoyed doing so much that I wanted to do it full-time for as many companies and people as I could.
Awesome. And so when did you go out on your own?
2016.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
So I've got all my dates wrong there, but yes, definitely 2016 when I started the business. So I think I originally started to do more like corporate comms, and then got pulled into small business because I think they really understand how important a unique brand is to stand out so that they can
Yeah.
compete against the bigger companies. And then it was around 2019, I just really hard niched into that employer branding and recruitment communication focus.
I love it.
Yeah.
I want to get into, I'm sure you have a ton of great stories and probably some amazing case studies, but let's start with, because I loved this conversation that we had. Like, how did we end up here? Because you're right. Like, we need this language to differentiate ourselves. And I am always intrigued by job descriptions that are out there and actually feel like they're setting the tone and really capture your attention, because it's really easy to get lost in the boring job descriptions. Like, what is this even saying? Who is this company? But you had a hypothesis kind of about how we've
Yeah.
ended up using this jargon, this professional speak. And so let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this does really kind of light me up. So hopefully I can stay focused. um, but yeah, I kind of think like if I was to reflect, certainly for myself, even in my 20s, I used to say I'm not a creative person. I'm not creative, and so I wasn't really writing for myself back then either. When I was studying, it was factual, and I knew that I was like, I'm not going to be a journalist because I don't like writing facts. But I don't know. I just got in my head I'm not really creative, and it wasn't until I started journaling. I had anxiety, and I started journaling in my early 30s. This quirkiness kind of held hold. It took hold. Sorry, and I actually started to connect with this idea that I could be a creative person, which is wild, really. So it got me
Yeah.
thinking, like, how did I get to this stage? And I think, like, when we're in primary school, we're encouraged to play, right? We've got, art classes is part of everyday life.
Yeah.
And you got to write stories. Like that was part of our learning and development, was writing these little short stories and illustrating them and things like that. But as soon as at least in my experience, you kind of leave the primary school gates and you enter the big high school gates, and then we're kind of conditioned to turn our backs on that creativity and that play. And for me, I was quite clever, so I was really pushed into this idea of, well, you choose hard subjects, because in Australia, or at least in the Queensland education system at that time, it was kind of, you would score higher if you got like a C in physics than if you got an A in drama. So
Right.
for a girl like me who had university kind of laid out for her as a path, it was more of an emphasis on choosing those smarter subjects and kind of turning your back. And when I think about that, like when I critically think about that, what that's actually telling us and conditioning us to believe is that creativity is not valued, that we should, it's not important. It doesn't give you good grades. And if it doesn't give you good grades, then there is no value there, and that's so sad. I say that as someone fully tuned into my creativity. I find that a really sad thing for kids and us as adults as well. But then when you think about the writing that you did sort of in high school and the older that you get, it was more about essays. So we weren't really taught to write creatively, or we weren't really taught, we weren't writing to communicate, I should say, and to connect.
Right.
We were writing to, hey, here is a theory, and here are the facts I'm going to share that supports that theory. And so heading into university, it was kind of, yeah, that's resonating, is it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
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 Yeah, heading into uni, I'm so grateful that I did journalism because we were really encouraged to write the best. We were right to communicate. We were right to
Yeah.
what is the story here? What are we trying to say? And how can we say it in as few words as possible? Whereas I also did some sociology classes, history, things like that. And that was where the essay writing came in. And that was like, okay, you've got 3,000 words to prove this point. And if I came in at like 2,200, I was like, oh, goodness, like you stuff all those extra words in, you make these sentences, like you just puff everything out, right? And so to answer how we got here, I think that's kind of the journey that we're really taken on is, you know, the creative side is devalued. Writing to actually connect and communicate is not prioritized. It's not, I don't even remember it being discussed actually outside of my uni degree. And so then we end up in the workforce and, this is a massive generalization here, but especially when I started, it was the boomers that were in management positions. And again, it's a generalization, but their communication style is that authoritative. It's top down kind of one way. So we have a message and it's going to be fed down the line in this particular way. Whereas actually good communication is two-way. It's inclusive. We invite other people when you actually think about it, and communication theory as well. I won't go too nerdy and technical but like communication theory, when you think about it, your message really needs to consider your audience, and you have to think about their experience, their beliefs, cultural and social norms that they've grown up with, because that is going to influence how they interpret a message. So you have this like top-down, bossy, authoritative kind of tone, but you're not connecting with and engaging the people who are supposed to be receiving that message. But we learn through conditioning. So, you know, we enter the workforce. This is what we see. This is what we think is, well, this is how you communicate in an office. Specifically talking knowledge work here. But yeah, so I think it's learned. No one stands there and tells us, you know, any of these things. It's just kind of conditioned, you know, in our journey throughout our schooling and the early days of our professional careers that this is what's expected, but it might be what was expected, but it doesn't work.
Got it. It does not work. Exactly. I think that's where we are today, is at least finally, I love your view on this as well, but like in my last corporate experience, I would definitely say the influence of multiple generations has started to shift that. There is an acknowledgement of storytelling. So I know that storytelling, you know, in L&D has really grown as a good personal development course to take, because we are starting to use that connection and that narrative that's really connecting to people and our business cases. But oh man, I mean, I think you've hit it on the head with kind of how we ended up here, because it's that learned behavior. We've stripped out creativity so much. And I had this conversation with someone recently, and I've been posting about that online. Like, I also consider myself a very creative person, but I went through exactly, so I was shaking my head because yes, it resonates. I went through that journey. I was very artistic. What's that going to get me?
Exactly.
And I was also very intellectual. And so that's the path that I took. And now I'm realizing, wow, it's that creativity that is so important. It differentiates us. It is a part of what we bring to the table. And now in the era of AI, it's ever more important. Do you think people, what's your opinion then on AI? I mean, it does have the ability to help you craft a message. So I think there's good and bad. But you can certainly tell kind of who's relying on it maybe too much.
I'll keep this one short because I could talk all day. Just for the side note there, it's because because I am a creative, I obviously have issues with the overreach of the tech companies kind of stealing someone's creativity and voice, whether that's in
Yeah.
artwork or photography or writing. So I do have issues there, ethical issues. But in terms of the use, yeah, it is very helpful for people who get stuck with, the key points to focus on or how to structure something. It can be really helpful in that regard. But yes, you can definitely tell it's not meant to be copy pasted. It should be ideas like, okay, I want to talk about personal branding. So what are the top 5 things that I should be talking about, or should I focus on? Things like
Right.
that to kind of generate some ideas and kind of inspire you. But the actual words, whether it's a post or a blog or whatever it is that you're using or you're doing it for, I think should be coming from the person, because I just think, what's the point in putting more content out there if it's already been written and said before? Like, if you're not putting
Right.
your authentic spin, if you're not, if it's not your twist, then why? Like, why bother? There's enough, excuse me, but there's enough shit on the internet already without adding to it. So
There's so much
yeah.
shit on the internet.
So much.
I think that's why it's like so refreshing to come across someone like you or brands,
Yeah.
right? Who really do differentiate. And it's not just the lack of jargon. Um, I think you just kind of covered off a little bit about how we got here to using all of the jargon, this kind of professional speak, right? We're
Yeah.
mimicking what we were taught. We're using these superlatives and fluffer words to build out our word count. But it's the authenticity then
Mm.
when you really can connect, you feel like you're connecting with someone. One of the lines that also often gets blurred though when you're authentic is this idea of oversharing maybe, or
Mm.
bringing, there's this idea of bringing your whole self to work, which I am a fan of because as someone who was in HR, I know that whatever's going on outside of life
Mm-hmm.
is impacting how you're showing up at work. So, I'm comfortable if you're bringing that to me. I know other people who would say, "Oh, that's too messy. Keep those. Don't blur those lines." But what do you think about that kind of line of oversharing or that authenticity? Where do you kind of stand on that?
Yeah. And to answer this, it's probably going to depend on the individual and also their audience. Because I saw a post the other day of someone in the personal branding space, and they actually commented on, the cringy oversharing, like the guy that proposed to his girlfriend and then used it as a as a way, like,
Yeah,
oh, what proposing to my girlfriend taught me about sales and
yeah,
things like that. So that kind of happens on LinkedIn a lot, and I cringe, but
yeah.
it works. It obviously works because people keep doing it and they keep getting the likes. So I really think probably, there's a lot of threads that I can pull out here, so I'll try and focus on one. But don't chase vanity for that regard. Don't chase the vanity metrics, because if you're not actually getting sales, then it's not working. You're just getting people like the content.
Attention.
But
Yeah.
in terms of oversharing, though, I think you can be really strategic about how you show up online, because when I was working more with small businesses, so more like solopreneurs, or they are the face of the business, that was this fear, like, well, I'm a mum, I've got kids, but I don't want to share. I don't want that
Yeah.
to be my brand. And so they'd kind of hold back sharing anything personal, because they thought that they had to bring that part of their life out into the open. And I think you can be really strategic, and you can kind of, I call it curation, not,
Hmm.
we're not creating a brand, we're curating. And from that, it's like we're picking the real parts of our journey, of our life, of our experiences. And we're just focusing on the ones that are going to help shape our brand or shape our image, or whatever it is, that aligns with what we're trying to achieve. So you don't have to be up oversharing all these personal details of your life if you want
Yeah.
to keep that private, it's about kind of focusing on the stuff that's probably like valuable and aligned and actually, that is going to most resonate with the audience that you're trying to connect with.
Yeah. It's, yeah, thinking about that, right? As a mother, right? I mean, I feel like we are all such multifaceted individuals. And so I think that there's real value in bringing that aspect. And it does give your audience that opportunity to kind of understand where you're coming from, and then also to relate
I
to.
have to, because I am my
Yeah.
brand. And I was like, if my
Yeah.
toddler, like, we 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks now, sleep deprivation.
Oh, God.
So it
Oh,
affects
those
me. It affects
times.
me. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm with you. Like, I have to, but I don't share, I suppose, I don't overshare other intimate details about that.
And there's a
About him.
difference.
So.
There's a difference too, I think, in what you're putting out there, the content, right, that you're curating, and then just how you're operating in a corporate environment. You might feel safe, like I'm thinking back to the language thing. You might feel safe sharing in a meeting with your boss some of the personal stuff that's happening. But I think we need to challenge ourselves to share a little bit of that a little bit more broadly, maybe with the people that we're working with our project teams. I think there's a hesitation to share too much in the corporate space. And it doesn't have to be the inner ins and outs of the details, but giving context in situations is one way to start pushing the envelope a little bit about creating a safer space for people to show up in. Shifting your language to not mimic the boomers, sorry, boomers, or the more old school or hierarchical type of language, or using the jargon, and actually just speaking the way that you would normally speak, really being cognizant of the words that you're using is a way to start shifting the environment and creating a new space. So it's so powerful what you share and how you share it.
Absolutely. And I think, like, as an employee, the manager or the leader, the people that you kind of report to, are the ones that are going to have the most influence on how safe you feel to be vulnerable. And so, yeah, I think I would encourage everyone to sort of, as you say, bring their whole self to work. But I think, yeah, you definitely want to be in an environment that makes it feel safe to do so. So I think that's probably the challenge for most, is getting that management level or the leader level, open to that idea of, more vulnerable leadership.
I love that you use vulnerability, because I think that this is just something
about.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I've really just pieced together, is like, because again, I always thought of myself as being very creative in the work environment. I'm an ideas person. So that felt creative, but at the same time, I was holding back. And so I think that if we're thinking about the future of work and we're thinking about the role AI plays, then we know that we need that human ingenuity and that creativity and that innovation to show up. But that is vulnerable. That requires a safe space for us to do that, and a real appreciation of failing fast and kind of stomping out the tall poppy syndrome. We don't, especially in an environment like right now, I think, where there's a lot of layoffs happening. Nobody wants to stand out. You kind of want to like hide and just not stick out too tall. So I think that people are sheltering or withholding some of that creativity, and that's the exact wrong thing to be doing. We need to be celebrating it, sharing it more, and making sure that we're creating spaces for people to show up. And that starts with being able to speak like humans.
Yeah.
Like I keep thinking about all of the memes or the influencers who talk about corporate, and they're constantly sharing these the corporate the corporate jargon that's used, and then they decipher what it really means.
Yeah.
And we all laugh and we think it's funny because we can relate to it. But it's like I think we should be outraged. We should be
Yeah.
outraged that this is the environment that we continue to perpetuate and have to live in, where we're not saying what we really mean. And that prevents us from connecting as humans. When we use this false language, we use this protective professional language, it keeps us removed from each other. We're not being direct. We're not able then to have the hard conversations that we should be having because we're so disconnected from each other.
Yeah. And it's too much time in our head thinking about what the other person is going to think rather than actually, okay, what's the purpose of this message? Like, what am I hoping to achieve in this conversation? Which really is, instead of thinking about what someone's going to think of you, like it's that judgment, I suppose, like the fear of judgment. And yeah, I think definitely having that safe space, like within a work environment, having that safe space to be able to do that. But from a writing, communication, if you're doing any writing and things like that, I really feel that journaling is an amazing exercise. For one, it helps if you do have anxiety or stress or anything like that in your life. It is amazing. It's an amazing activity to help you uncover your authentic writing voice. But also, I think for me, it was through journaling that I kind of really strengthened my self-confidence, because I could actually see, well, here's what I'm thinking and here's what I'm feeling. And then I would kind of, analyze that. And so you kind of, you're putting yourself through therapy to an extent, but it was actually through that process that, like, I know that I'm not a bad person. I'm not, there's nothing mean spirited or anything in me. And so I don't fear anyone's judgment anymore. I kind of, I've gone through all of that. And it's like, well, actually, if you're passing judgment on me for being human, that actually says more about you than it does about this particular position that I'm in. And so I do hope, I hope that that's a message that anyone listening will kind of take hold of, because, judgment is nothing to be fearful of.
Yeah.
Because they're not nice people.
I mean, that's one of the things I think when I think about my child, that's one of the things I wish for him to learn early. So I overly embarrass him by embarrassing myself, really, because I still feel that judgment. So I'm like, okay, I got to just embarrass myself. Like if I can get him comfortable with me embarrassing him, and he gets to the point where it just doesn't faze him anymore, then hopefully that's helping him realize it doesn't matter. Other people's opinions don't matter. But that's a really hard lesson.
Dr. Seuss, maybe. I think those who matter, those who matter won't mind. Those who mind don't matter. It was something. I think that's it. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a good one.
Yes, exactly. Oh,
such a wise doc.
So wise, and so simply said, and yet so hard to put in practice.
Yeah.
For some of us. What other tips might you give someone who's thinking about maybe just? I think personal brand's a really good approach, and I love the way that you're approaching it with helping kind of recruiters or HR and marketing kind of, build out their message. But how could anyone kind of show up and start thinking about themselves as a personal brand in their workplace, on LinkedIn, or if they actually are building a personal brand?
Yeah. So I think personal brand is really just your reputation. So, and same with employer brands or any kind of, consumer brands. A brand is the fancy marketer's term for a reputation, and a reputation is built through consistent experiences over time. So if you're thinking about, okay, how do I strategically or intentionally position myself, then it really needs to come down to, because, and this is the A word, the authenticity as well, because anything that you do, if it's not aligned and if it doesn't feel authentic, then you're not going to last long. You're going to fatigue, you're going to get disgruntled, you'll disengage. So yeah, if you're trying to do it, you need to be authentic. So start with your values. So think about what are my core values here? What are the things that, you know, my world outlook, my beliefs and things like that. What is my mission? So what is the point of positioning your brand? Like, what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to do with your life and your career? Like, so getting really like just focusing on those foundations, personal strengths, what you're known for, things like that.
Love that.
Yes. So you might have there might be 10 things, but I think potency comes from focusing on the few. So, you know, three to five sort of things. So start big, get it all out on paper, but then focus on, okay, if I want to do this intentionally, what are the things that I want to amplify? And so that is kind of, if that is a good starting point for people to take. And then that way, you know, if you keep that in mind, if you keep those, you know, 3 to 5, it'll probably be a combo of values and strengths and what you want to be known for is what you are known for is. If you kind of keep bringing yourself back to that, then you use that as a guide when you're making decisions or when you're showing up online or wherever you're showing up. Is this aligned? You know, is this really aligned with who I am and how I want to be showing up in the world?
When you sit down to write a post, again, I love your posts. Do you have a mental checklist that you're going through to kind of knock off those things, or have you gotten to the point now where you can just sit down and you know that you've practiced that?
Yeah, so I am a bit of both. So I am my brand. So and I think because I'm a writer, so I'll never outsource any of my marketing or anything like that, because I am quite particular about how I sound and how what I say online. So for me, the checklist that I go through in my head is more, is this aligned with so will my audience care? Is this going to bring value to my audience? And sometimes, like, also because I'm a creative, sometimes it's like, no, but I'm creatively fulfilled, and I've written this and I've enjoyed this and I'm going to share it. And it might not be particularly business aligned, but they tend to be the posts that actually perform the best. So I did one about my birthday the other day, and that it was about age, and it resonated with a lot of people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn isn't Facebook, they say.
These days, I don't know.
It'd be my best performing post, I think, so far.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't have a photo of my, my baby in it, maybe. But so for me, in terms of the language, like in terms of how I phrase things, that is me. I am my words. So I don't think about that anymore. I did in the early days. I definitely did in the early days, and that helped me position myself. But mostly the checklist for me is, who am I writing for, and are they going to care? That's kind of what.
Have you? I'm curious of this one because I'm still in the probably over-analyzing mode. That authenticity, like, oh gosh, trying to figure out how to show up. Do you write post, hit post, and just you're done with it, or do you have you?
So the authenticity thing that catches some people, I think, if you're sitting there and that's the question you're asking yourself, how do I be authentic, or how do I say this authentically? For me, and you can correct me, but my thinking would be, have you embraced your writing voice? And so that is, if you're worried about being authentic, then is there a voice still in your head trying to translate this to sound better, or to sound more professional, or to sound more fun, or more or different? So I don't know if that kind of resonates, or if that's what's triggering you. But I think if you are writing in your in your true, aligned, authentic writing voice, which you get from journaling, if you are connected with that, then in my mind, there wouldn't be any questioning of authenticity, because it's just innate. It's just, this is who I am and how I sound.
I think my issue is probably more around confidence around the point I'm trying to make. Like, does anyone care? Does this make sense? Does it even make sense? You know, and which is ridiculous, because I've had a very successful career. I have a podcast. I don't know if anyone listens to it, but I don't think I have a problem with my intellect. And yet sometimes I'm like, oh, should I say that? Or and knowing that the more controversial things you say are the better. Like, I want to get it out there. I want to have these conversations. That's the purpose of the podcast. And yet I find myself sometimes still holding back. Like, ooh, am I gonna offend or embarrass myself? There we go. Embarrass. Better just do it.
So the judgment one, ignore that. Who cares? So social media attention is fleeting. You'll be forgotten tomorrow. So does that help?
Yes, it does. It does. Actually, I think it's Gary Vee just has a whole post about that I was I think I even reshared, right? Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
So long as you're not up there being, you know, like racist, ageist, misogynist, sexist, you know, if you're being yourself and you have a theory and you're trying to, you know, and you're trying to push it out there. I am more mindful today of language in terms of like, I find should is a dirty word. And I try to I'm particular about how I use it, if I use it in my content, because I think should can set impressionable people up to think, it sets that comparisonitis up. Well, I should be doing this in my marketing, but I'm not. Am I failing? Am I doing it wrong? And it, you know, all this doubt comes in there in life. I should be married by 30. I should be a mum by now. You know, it's this should. And I think it kind of, it pulls us away from our North Star, because we're too focused on meeting someone else's standards, really. So, I'm careful about how I present my ideas. So if it's an unpopular opinion, if I'm trying to move things, like shift thinking, then I'll be careful to kind of position it. Because the other thing we're getting is people are losing their ability for critical thought. So they see something, especially on Facebook, but they see something posted and they take it as, well, this is the law, like this is the rule. And so I think, you know, we want people to be expressing different ideas. We want to be opening up those conversations and getting other people to engage with us. And what do you think? Like, does this, you know, like with, you know, saying to you, like, oh, does this resonate? Like, you know, because it's like, you need that feedback from people to see if it's got legs, and if it does have legs, well, let's contribute and let's have this conversation and flesh this idea out. So we want to encourage that. We want people to be showing up and sharing those thoughts. But yeah, for me, the trick is, I'm so sorry if you can hear my baby crying. He's woken up early and he's obviously not very happy I'm not there. But yeah, we want people to be thinking about that. But so I would just say, definitely keep showing up and keep having those thoughts, but sharing those thoughts, But for me, it's more because I have that, oh my God, is someone going to think I'm stupid? Like sometimes when I talk about marketing advice, because it's like, but then it's like, well, there's nothing wrong in thinking this way. And it's actually shown results. Like, I've got results from it. So it might not be what, you know, 50% of the other marketers are doing, but it's worked for me. And I'd kind of like to, you know, empower my audience to try it. But just not coming across as this, you know, well, I think it should be this way and therefore you should be doing it this way. Like, I think that's my only.
I love that. And I agree. Like, that language of that growth mindset. Like, I think that it could be done this way, or, you know, if from my experience, this is what I've learned, etc., is so much more powerful than trying to position yourself as a subject matter expert who has this very specific kind of, it should be done this way, because, there's too many, there's so much noise out there that's giving us that. And that's not true. It's evident by the fact that when you share your personal stuff that, that's the stuff that actually resonates more. Because that's what people are interested in is the context of who's giving that information. It's funny you say critical thinking too. I was saying to my husband this week, like, are we the generation that is like that's going to leverage AI in the most important ways ever because we can critically think. We know how to prompt engineer correctly. We know what questions to ask AI. We know how to kind of guide the conversation and take what's been given back to us and continue to ask the questions to get to the content that we are looking for or the answers that we're looking for. I don't think younger generations have that ability because they can't critically think. Sorry, again, it's a generalization, but we're not teaching that, right? And like you said, we're just printing out so much information and content out there that is should, and not that leveraging that creativity and critical thinking. But that's folks like us, and for us, like, we're going to leverage that, but then what's going to be left behind? I guess that's one of my fears about AI is like, this is probably the opportunity for it to be put to use in the best possible ways. But what are we going to create? How's it going to grow? Like, we don't have to go into that, but
AI, there is already so much AI generated content on the internet that they need to be careful that AI is not teaching AI. Like,
it is.
Yeah. Because I can't remember who phrased the term, but it's the swearing's okay, right? I've said it before.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
it's not the F-bomb. But Gen AI is like the enshittification of the internet. Like, basically, it's the downfall of the internet now because so much is being put out without that critical thought. And the other thing to consider with the younger generation is getting onto social media too early, before their brain has had the chance to fully develop and to be able to ask those questions and to be able to develop the critical thought to question, is this true? Or for one, and do I agree with this, as opposed to, like, I think, you're getting them in there young and they don't know that actually, potentially they don't know unless they have a parent that's guiding them, but they don't know that you need to really question what you see.
And that your uniqueness is your superpower, not conforming to what everyone else is doing.
Instagram the other day, and I did a video, and I'm against filters on Instagram, beauty filters, I mean. But I was looking for one to kind of distort my face because I do have a fear of AI stealing everything because it's meta. But the number of filters of female beauty filters to distort their face, and I was just like, oh my God, like, we're raising a generation who is going to be disconnected from authenticity because, like, they're showing up here and they're basically being told that who they are is what they look like is not right. Like, you need to, enhance your features to look a certain way. And again, like I said at the beginning of our conversation, is no one standing in front of you telling you this. No one's telling you you're not beautiful, you need to look like this, you need fake lips and blah 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 blah. Like, you're just it's just what we're exposed to and what we're conditioned to see, and nothing against people that do that, but I'm just like, we are what we see, we become what we see. And so he's getting very loud. Okay,
you're a mom, it happens. We get it. I think just on that last point, like what you just said, there isn't anyone standing over us telling us. And that's one of the issues I see in the corporate environment. There should be. There should be someone who's saying, let's put a stop to this. Let's hashtag ditch the jargon. Like, let's put a stop to the language that we're using. It's not just about role modeling, but actually calling it out and saying, it's not serving us anymore. It is not proving anything to anyone. It's actually disengaging us from each other. It is distracting us from what's really what our intent is. And God, we could get so much more done and really enjoy life if we weren't talking through this filter.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
So what
start the
is
hashtag.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't know. You're a better wordsmith, so I wrote down ditch the jargon. But
Yeah, I like that.
I think, something like it really, it's a bee in my bonnet. It irks me.
Yeah. It's the reason that my business exists.
Yeah, good. Yes. So what's next for Kelly? I know you have a trip planned. Is there a book in the future? Like, will your creative writing take you there?
Creative writing, yes. I've got a manuscript, a memoir manuscript actually.
Yay.
So yeah, it's that catch though. It's like, well, I need to earn money to survive at the moment. So the stuff that doesn't earn you money doesn't unfortunately get the attention. But yeah, it would be nice to see that come out one day. But I'm thinking to scratch the creative itch, get onto Substack and ditch the social platforms.
Yeah.
Get on there. At least then you build a nice little community, private community, and yeah. But work-wise, yes, personal brand. It's more about the writing, helping people overcome that writing confidence, as you say. Like, so you don't have the imposter sitting on your shoulder. Like, who am I to say this? And how? Who am I to say this? And how can I say this? But
I love it. It's a beautiful, beautiful message, and I'm totally here for it. So where can people find more about you? You're on LinkedIn, Kelly Stone.
I think it's stone.kelly.
Okay.
The handle.
Yep. And Craft My Content?
craftmycontent.com.au is my website. So if you're it doesn't matter where you are, but for copywriting services, and then the course details are there as well.
And are you on Instagram?
No, I'm gonna say no. I am, good. But I'm private at the moment because of Meta. Taking everything. So they're not taking my creativity. That one's hidden.
I like it. It. Crazy world we live in these days.
Yeah.
Well, I will let you get back to your baby.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking some time to have this chat.
Thanks for having me.
It's a powerful one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anytime.
I'd like to see more people just have fun. Just have fun with words, and don't worry about. No one's ever accused me of being unprofessional in my business or in life, but I've never been accused of being unprofessional. And I swear in my copy, and I use slang. I use a lot of Australian colloquialisms.
Love it.
I've never been accused of being unprofessional. So I hope that can be of some reassurance, and do some journaling. Fall in love with your voice, fall in love with writing, and showing up becomes a lot more easier and joyful.
Excellent.
That's my parting message. That's your grab.
I love it. Words to live by. I love it. Oh, thanks, Kelly. We'll talk soon. Appreciate you. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.